In this video, we're going to talk about your rights as a taxpayer. Actually, just a couple of key rights that are very important for you to understand. The taxpayer rights are designed to ensure your protection when you're dealing with the IRS. And information about some of your most important rights can be found in IRS Publication 1. In this video, we're going to talk about a couple of very important rights you have, including your right to professional and courteous service by the IRS employees, as well as your right to representation when you have a tax problem. We'll also give you some tips on choosing a professional if you should ever need one. When dealing with the IRS in some situations, they can make you feel like a criminal. Even if you've done nothing wrong, but they can make you feel like a criminal, like you're about to be punished for something. This is really not the case. For most people that are dealing with the IRS, they're not in a criminal situation. But just like a police officer must read you your rights if they were arresting you, an IRS employee must notify you that you have rights. And this includes when you're dealing with any matter before the IRS. So they need to provide you a printed copy of those rights or inform you of how you can get a copy of them. Now, one of the most important rights that you have when dealing with the IRS is the right to professional and courteous service. This works just like you would expect if you're dealing with a private business or company. You're entitled to a certain level of customer service when dealing with the IRS, just like you'd be entitled to a certain level of customer service in dealing with a private company or business. So if you feel an IRS employee has not treated you in a professional, fair, courteous manner, you have the right to speak to their supervisor, and there's nothing wrong with actually asking to speak to that supervisor. Additionally, if speaking with a supervisor does not satisfactorily resolve your issue, you may request to address the supervisor's director and write a letter of concern, or contact the director for your tax area and tax center where your tax return is filed. Now, it's important to understand that professionalism and courtesy is a two-way street. Although trying to resolve a tax problem can be time-consuming and it can be frustrating, it's important that you don't take those frustrations out on an IRS employee with verbal abuse. Lower-level, front-line, first-contact IRS employees have a lot of power to enforce initial collection procedures against you, but not a lot of power to help you solve your problem once that process is started. So do your best to keep it together, and then if you're not moving in the direction you feel you should, ask for a supervisor. Now, you also have the right to representation. Just as you'd have the right to be represented by an attorney in court or in legal matters, you have the right to be represented by a qualified professional before the IRS. This means that you may hire a professional to accompany you to a meeting with an IRS examiner, a revenue officer, or other IRS employee. You may also hire a professional to communicate and work with the IRS on your behalf to find a solution to your tax problem. At any time you are speaking or meeting with the IRS, you have the right to cease the conversation and notify them that you need to seek professional advice before answering any further questions. Now, even though in most situations this is not a criminal matter, you still have those same basic rights on a matter where you have a tax problem. So it's important to understand that. Now, there's only 3 types of qualified professionals that are unrestricted in representing taxpayers before the IRS. The first is an attorney, the second is a CPA, and the third is what's called an enrolled agent. A paid tax return preparer, the guy or girl at the local tax return place that prepared your taxes, is not permitted to represent you before the IRS in a collection matter. So it's important to understand that. You want a professional that can protect your interests and preserve your rights. Now, in choosing a professional, you want one that's familiar with the most current tax laws. You want one that cares about your tax matter and your unique circumstances. You want someone that's going to ask you in-depth questions about your situation, and they're going to want to see your tax records, ordering your transcripts if necessary, if you've lost or misplaced records, and even filing a Freedom of Information request on your behalf if necessary to gain additional insight before recommending a specific course of action to resolve your case. Understand that the advice you get will also depend on the quality of information you give the professional that you're going to hire. These are just a few of the rights that you have, and to get more specific information on your rights and for a list of your rights, you can visit the IRS at www.irs.gov, click on the Forms and Publications tab right there on the first page. Search for Publication 1, Your Rights as a Taxpayer, and you can find out all your rights as a taxpayer. Now, if you're unsure about your situation, just by watching this video, you're entitled to a free consultation to get specific insight into your personal tax situation. Just visit the Lazat Law Group at getllg.com. There's a tab right there. Click on the tab for the free, no risk, no obligation consultation to discuss your options. Now, this is going to be a phone consultation, and so you can be located anywhere in the United States and its territories.